the Senate and the House. We seem to be getting along as much as you can get along. We seem to be getting along now on a bill. I think that maybe had even less of an impact than the fact that we're opening up this incredible country, because we have to do that. I'd love to have it open by Easter. Okay, I would love to have it open by Easter. I will tell you that right now. I would love to have that. It's such an important day for other reasons, but I'll make it an important day for this too. I would love to have the country opened up and just raring to go by Easter.
The president's finally giving us a sense of where it is. The president's telling us that that's what the timeline is that we're working with. And so, we'll see if we can stay on that. But he has an understanding of what's at stake here from all angles, and wants to make sure that the country is back up and running as much as it can be, while still protecting seniors, while still taking the necessary steps to help people who are in need. And so that's, I think, this is an encouraging sign that the president of the United States feels the way he does about this, that we might be able to get out and do more. And I think that's probably a realistic timeline. I think that it's going to be painful. 3 weeks of this is painful, but all right, that's where we think it'll be. And keep in mind, if we wanted to make sure that we had, the bare minimum risk, we would just say, no, let's six months of lockdown. So the people that just say this is about, death or profits are being imbeciles, because there are balances here. There are trade-offs that need to be struck. All right. Governor Cuomo also starting to sound a bit more like President Trump on some of this. Producer Mark, play clip 13.
About the economy, right? The economy was doing well. The economy is now truly suffering. The consequences haven't even been felt yet, because not only have you stopped the revenue machine, you've increased the expense machine, okay? So those two things are going to compound each other. So the president is very eager to get back to the economy. Everybody agrees that this is an unsustainable situation. You can't keep spending money and close down the economy. And the president is eager to get it opened as quickly as possible. I actually have a group that is working on the restart of the economy, because I get it too. I mean, this is New York, and we're the home of so much of this.
Yeah. There you have a Democrat governor of the state hardest hit by this saying it's not sustainable. Can't keep doing this. Okay, good. That's progress. Because there have been people saying, 6 months, whatever. Lives matter. Profits don't matter. There's this kind of chanting idiocy that has taken over from Democrats who view this as another, because Trump is talking about opening the economy. So they say, that must be bad. We don't want Trump to open the economy, because people are going to die if he does that. Well, okay, but what does that mean then? We're just not going to open the economy for how many months? And what is the loss that you're willing to incur, and the loss of human life, the loss of a future, right? So unsustainable means unsustainable. That means we're going to have to stop this at some point. We're going to have to make a decision that it's more important to get economic activity going than to keep all of the precautions currently in place, the extreme quarantines, the shutdown of businesses. Those are the ones that really, once people can go back to work, then we can start to phase in the changes to social distancing. That's when all of a sudden we have to look at that and make determinations. When do we get to have, people in a restaurant again? When do you get to sit in a cafe again? I mean, that's probably a few months away, right? That's the reality of our situation. But people going into an office, maybe having masks, maybe having gloves, maybe doing some of these other mitigation measures, but being able to conduct their business and being able to start to bring in income and revenue, that has to be a part of this conversation too. And people that try to shut that down with, they just don't know what they're talking about. They're not being honest about this. I did see some interesting stuff today in the Cuomo. Remember, I'm not just talking about New York because I'm in New York. This is now the biggest hot spot for coronavirus infections. This is the hot zone, and we need to find every way we can to try and deal with this, because the governor was pointing out that this will move to other places. There will be other states, other cities that are in the same situation that New York is in right now, And so what happens in New York is a harbinger of things to come everywhere else. It's going to happen in D.C. It's going to happen in L.A. And he's also saying that we need that the big shortfall right now is for the ventilators for people, and we're going to need more ventilators. And he says that the federal government has not taken the most aggressive action they can to get ventilators not only made as quickly as possible, but also distributed to New York. He said FEMA is going to send, I think, 300 or 400. They need 30,000. So where are these ventilators going to come from? New York needs them more than anywhere else. He's saying that we need to have a distribution mechanism in place for how we get the ventilators to places hardest hit. So we're going to move around ventilators as this sweeps across the country. And he even said that he's willing to assign medical personnel from New York elsewhere to help them surge up their capacity in order to be able to mitigate loss of life from this as we go forward. And yeah, that's going to be really important. It's going to be really important to find ways to distribute these ventilators so that the places that are hardest hit get them, because remember, that is a race against time. Someone needs a ventilator. When they go into the hospital and they need a ventilator, they need it right away. And if they don't have those machines, if they are overwhelmed, and this is what the whole crisis modeling scenario has taken into account, if they get overwhelmed, then you have people who will die waiting for a ventilator. And you could have thousands of people die waiting for ventilators. So Cuomo is saying that the government isn't as aggressive as it should have been, and that they're not sending the ventilators that are necessary to New York, including taking them from other places around the country, move them to New York with the promise that they'll be moved back. This we've never seen this before with states in this kind of scenario where critically needed medical resources are having to be reorganized and redistributed among states. And some states may say, sorry, we got to hold on to ours for our residents. We don't really think of federalism ever playing out in such a serious, medical situation like this, but that's what is going. That is what is going on right now. So we'll end up seeing, I think, the surge in New York. They're saying it's coming faster than was anticipated. 14 to 21 days, they think, before they'll hit the absolute spike. So within 2 weeks, we could see the largest spike in cases in New York. And if it is within 2 weeks that we see this, we need to make sure that that's when we have the maximum number of ventilators, beds, and personnel to tend to people in those beds as possible. They think they're going to need 130,000 beds. That's a lot of hospital beds. They think they're going to need 30,000 more ventilators than they currently have. That's a lot. I mean, they're getting ready for these hospitals to be completely inundated with patients with COVID-19. So we'll see if we can band together and do everything possible. Ford, Tesla, other major companies are saying they're now in the ventilator creation business. We certainly need more of that. We need that volunteerism to accelerate. And hopefully the federal government has an answer. I want to know what the answer is to why aren't they using the Defense Production Act to tell companies, we're giving you a check, start making ventilators. Why aren't they doing that? Are they doing that? If they're not, I would like to know why. So hopefully we'll get some answers to that. But it is crunch time for New York. And as New York goes, we'll see what ends up happening for the rest of the country, because the spread of this thing is happening as fast, if not faster, than was anticipated in the modeling 2 weeks ago. So far, the numbers indicate that the experts on the spread of this, at least in terms of how fast it spreads and how many positives they're getting from this increase in testing, the spread of this is very, very rapid and has been very, very rapid in the last few weeks. So New York, we are getting ready for battle here, and I'll be updating you on every day as we go through it. Well, producer Mark, now that we can talk to you across the river in New Jersey, how are things going over there?
Well, my butt hurts. That's my biggest complaint. I don't really have a comfortable chair to do work in.
Oh.
I may or may not have ordered an office chair off of Amazon.
That's probably a good move. Yeah. I would have given you some recommendations. I'm all about comfy office chairs.
Mine was the quickest that I could possibly get it. I didn't really care how comfortable it was.
I was never a fan of, for a while they had those very expensive Herman Miller chairs.
Sure.
Talking like this. I always thought those were uncomfortable. I like fabric on my seat, you know?
I just
There's
like
an
a lot of
armchair.
cushioning.
Yeah, I like cushioning. Got to have some cushion for the tush.
Yeah.
You know, it's important. So I'm sorry your butt hurts. Other than that, though, New Jersey, you guys are in a lockdown state too, right?
We are. It's pretty much New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut are all the same right now.
I think Pennsylvania too. I think they've added them. They've added them into the mix. How are you feeling about this whole thing? You sit there while I do the show every day for hours. You know, do you think that we're gonna pull through okay? Are you particularly worried?
Yeah, I mean, we're Americans. We always pull through. You know, obviously everyone's comparing this to 9/11. I think it's a much different circumstance because you don't know when this is going to end. There's no, date that okay, we're going back to work this date. So there's a lot of questions there, so I'm a little worried about that. But other than that, I know we'll be fine. It's just a matter of when.
See, everybody, producer Mark, an optimist that we'll get through this and we'll be all right.
I'm not always grumpy.
Yeah. But what's the producer Mark plan? What is the first thing I want to ask you? Is the first thing you want to do when they lessen the restrictions a little bit? If there's one place where you can go that you currently can't go, do you know what it would be? Is there like one restaurant you'd want to go to right away, or there one you want to go to the movies right away?
I just want to see sports again. I really miss sports.
So that's
Baseball's
for you.
supposed to
You
open
want
in
sports.
2 days. Yeah.
Why haven't they? I was sort of surprised that they didn't just decide, or maybe they're doing this because I don't watch much of professional sports, but why wouldn't they run previous seasons and kind of like best ofs in place of,
They are, but like I already know who won those games. I'm not like the type of person who can go watch old games.
Oh, you need the uncertainty of the struggle.
That's what's great about sports is you don't know how it's going to end.
That is true, and that is not the case. Although I feel like if they watch some of the old school like Bird versus Johnson back in the day, and you wouldn't know who's going to win those games.
No, but I could easily Google it. So
yeah, but you're not going to do that.
It doesn't interest me. Like I'll watch highlights, fine, but
By the way, there's been a big increase in people buying dogs because dogs are great company during quarantine.
Well, actually, people are fostering dogs that are in the shelters.
Yeah. Well, that's what I should have said getting dogs, getting loyal canine companions. Do you ever think about doing that?
I have, but it's very expensive in this apartment building that I'm in. So,
yeah,
I want to make sure I have money to feed myself.
That's important. First, we need food coming in to feed ourselves, and then we need to make sure that there's food to take care of our canine friends. I actually made chicken for the dog last night because she won't eat normal dog food.
I think the dog eats better than you.
I think the dog does eat. It definitely eats healthier than me because I'm like, I'm tired. I'm going to eat some ice cream or something.
Yeah.
I said before, Corona bod. It's not going to be Corona bod. It's quarantine bod. This is going to be the fight, trying to avoid just months of indoor, very little activity, and really what you have. You got things to watch on screens and food. This is an experiment. I really do think, the freshman 15, I think there's going to be the quarantine 15.
I'm afraid it's going to be like the quarantine 50.
It depends on how long this lasts,
Yeah.
but there's no way. I mean, that's going to be, on the one hand, I'll be so unbelievably happy the day we can finally go outside and start to feel a little bit more normal. But man, I'm going to be, I'm going to miss sweater weather in terms of the belly, but it is what it is. We got more important things to worry about right now. That's for sure. And I am going to work on some of my skills, though. I've decided I work on some of the cooking. I have been saying I want to do a history podcast. So that will, we'll see, producer Mark, if you have the time to help with a little bit of the editing of the history podcast. So.
I mean, do I really have a choice?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to assign you some editing responsibilities on that one. But the good news is it'll give you something to do while the time is passing. So
that's true. I have plenty of free time, Buck.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in this loop all day of just talking about and covering the pandemic and all the things that are going on right now. We did have our buddy Sean Parnell wanting to join us today, but our tech limitations are such that it's difficult to bring in third guests right now. I did want to know, though, what is it going to take for us to get, I'm putting you on the spot, producer Mark, what's it going to take for us to get an online voicemail box where people can call in for the show?
I mean, I have to research it and talk to our engineers, but they're very busy and I'm very busy and we're trying to figure out how to get the show on the air.
I'll just pull out a credit card because I think their service is like $15 a month. So
I mean, we could do it, Buck. It's just right now it might not be feasible. Wait for us to get back into a studio is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying the people would like to be able to have Mark actually hear their voices.
Yeah, the people would like to give producer Mark more work.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But, they want producer Buck. I mean, producer Buck. They want whatever we call me to do more work, too. So, that's the other part of it, too, the history podcast. Do you know the story of the Siege of Malta?
I don't.
So that'll be a fun
I'm sure I'm about to learn it, Buck.
Oh, you are. It's going to be a whole thing that we get with producer Mark. So we'll have to see. But no, everybody, I do appreciate all the messages and the write-ins that you've been doing, and I'm really hoping that we can open up some new. And I'm just giving Mark a hard time because we're constantly scrambling just to make sure that we can even keep the show on air with what's been going on. We've been in flux. I do give us a little bit of a pat on the back. I know there's more important things in life than just keeping your job going. But we've been able to, with a constant switches of studio and tech and obligations, we've been able to keep this thing going. And it's because we both, don't tell Mark I'm telling you, but he loves his job too. So we both actually like what we do, which is an important thing. Because otherwise, these days, it's like work, food, Netflix. And I'm pretty sure that they're actually slowing down Netflix a little bit now because you can tell the pixels are not as clear. I think that's
just because everyone's using it at the same time.
Well, that's what I mean. But I think that now you can't even get if you're used to watching Netflix in HD, can't even get it right now.
By the way, does all the Netflix explain why you can be late to your own living room?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Because it's my show.
Yeah.
So I am the show, Mark. It starts when I show up. I keep telling him this. He doesn't think that this is the way it works. I keep telling him this is the way that it works.
I just never thought a human being could be late to their living room.
Mark, when you do 6, 8, 10 hours of prep every day for a show you love this much, it means that sometimes you run a little bit behind schedule.
Sure.
Did they rush Michelangelo? Did they tell Da Vinci no brush?
Wow.
Good times. By the way, I finished, and some of you have picked up that, by the way, as a tick of mine, so I'll try to say that less. I finished The Boys on Amazon Prime, which, as my friend Jesse Kelly pointed out when I brought it up on our Facebook live stream, is not for kids. It is not. It is really, even I was kind of like, whoa, at a few scenes. There's a lot of intense graphic violence and sexual stuff going on. That all said, if you're like okay with the Game of Thrones level of those things, The Boys was pretty good. I do recommend. All right. Roll call time for everybody, which is the best time, the roll call time. Thank you very much for being able to keep us company here as we continue the Freedom Hut extravaganza, despite the tough times and all the things that are going on. Now, look, it's stressful, but the good news is that I still get to do this show and talk to all of you folks across the country every day, and I greatly appreciate it. So I just wanted to say thank you all for continuing to stay with us, and also it really is a wonderful time to to pass the buck, to spread word about this show. People are home; they don't have stuff to do. I think that we do a very good job here of being fair, passing along the necessary information, not steering away from the difficult conversations about what's going on, but also maintaining some optimism and some hopefulness throughout. And we are going to be okay. I keep telling you that. We're all going to be fine. I'm going to owe Mark a very fancy steak and a lot of scotch or margaritas or whatever of his choice when finally they lift all these circumstances we're currently under, because we've beaten this thing. So please do pass the buck. We'd love to have as many people as possible joining us anew for the podcast every day. Remember, it's up. If you're even listening on terrestrial stations across the country, it's up on the Apple Podcast Store. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on the iHeart Radio app, which also lets you listen to stations live, by the way. So wherever you are, you can do that. As long as you have your smartphone with you or your computer, you can listen to the iHeart Radio. And also wanted to say thanks to San Diego's talk station AM 760. They're going to be putting the Buck Sexton Show on. They already are putting the Buck Sexton Show on weekdays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'm so excited to be on in San Diego. It's a wonderful city. I love every time I've been there. I've been there a bunch of times in recent years, and I've got a great lead-in with Mike Slater, and it's just And I'll do my very best to make sure I hand over the largest possible audience to Mark Levin there. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. San Diego's Talk AM 760, a great station with a fantastic, loyal, and large audience. It's a really wonderful addition to the Team Buck family of stations here. So thank you to AM 760 in San Diego. Now, let's get to all of the latest in the roll call. John, I'm of Chinese descent, and it irritates me to no end that people are saying it's so racist to call it the Chinese virus. It comes from China, started with the Chinese people, so it's the Chinese virus. I do think it would be good to clarify it's nothing against the people as a whole, especially Chinese Americans. There's a reason why we're here and not China, and most of us bleed red, white, and blue. We do, however, need to quit eating bats. That's nasty. Well, in fact, don't we actually, we have a cut, producer Mark, of Trump speaking about this issue. Would you play that for me, please?
It's very important that we totally protect our Asian American community in the United States and all around the world. They're amazing people, and the spreading of the virus is not their fault in any way, shape, or form. They're working closely with us to get rid of it. We will prevail together. It's very important.
So, the president giving some needed words there, I think, about how, well, we all know to be the case, that there's absolutely no basis whatsoever for treating any person of Asian descent and Asian Americans as it's so stupid as to defy belief that anybody would view it that way. But there's an enormous difference between criticizing the Chinese Communist Party and saying anyone who is either from China or has family from China is somehow part of the problem. This is like, but the president said it, and it's good to hear that he knows that we do love our Asian American brothers and sisters, and that no one should, act with the really unfathomable stupidity of holding any of this against them in any way. So thank you, John, as somebody who is of Chinese descent. Appreciate you writing in and sharing your perspective on this. Daniel Buck, greetings from South Central PA and your affiliate 910 WSBA out of York. All right. I like you guys, by the way, when you write in, you can always give me, if you want, we love it when you give us our affiliate station in the note, so we can give them a little shout out, because we really appreciate the 160 stations we're on, and growing. And so it's nice to give them a little bit of a high five. I convinced my boss to play your podcast in the truck during our long drives to job sites back a couple months ago, and he's hooked. He's now considered the work truck Mobile Freedom Hut 2 as we listen to your show and debate the current events of the day. Today is the last day we can work as the governor has ordered all non-life-sustaining businesses to close temporarily. Grocery stores are out of bread, canned goods, and, of course, toilet paper. Most people we've talked to are pretty calm about it, just getting ready to hunker down for a while. Stay safe, man. We love the show. We'll continue to listen from our homes as long as you're on. Shields high. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Daniel, and thank you for passing the buck. It is so helpful to our show. It means so much to me. And, the incredible growth we've seen in digital listening to this show in particular over the last 6 months is because those of you who are on Team Buck who listen, when you get the opportunity, you say, hey, if you're especially folks, if you know anyone who's like, I listen to podcasts, you got to say, listen to the Buck Sexton Show. That's what, because those are people that are already listening to podcasts. So give this guy a try. That's enormously helpful. Glenn, hey, Buck, love the show. In these times, it's nice to get a level-headed view of the situation. I know our economy is taking a hit, but I haven't heard anyone saying how this is affecting China's economy, which is already in a bad situation. Has this made it worse or better? Also, they say people with a compromised immune system are at greater risk. Does that include those of us with seasonal allergies? Great show as always. Shields high. All right, Glenn, great question. A few things here. One, as for China's economy, keep in mind that even well before this crisis, it was considered people pretty much always had thought that China lies about critical aspects of its economy, that China is dishonest about its growth rate. And so to get real numbers remember, China expelled, I haven't talked about this in the show, they've expelled U.S. journalists from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. So there's a clear effort underway in China to find a means of making a narrative that they want and suppressing information that they don't want. That's happening in really profound and disturbing ways. So I don't know how much, obviously it's hurting China's economy dramatically. I don't think I could give any numbers to it. I don't think anybody has the numbers on that. So we shall have to see. As for compromised immune systems and seasonal allergies, this is beyond my amateur medical knowledge. I don't know. I would guess it might depend on the severity of the allergy, but that's definitely something worth talking to a healthcare provider. Speak to an MD about that one. I just don't know. Look, I've had concerns. I have an autoimmune disease called celiac disease. Now you might say, well, don't eat gluten and you're fine. Yeah, but it means that you do have a compromised immune system, and especially if you're eating gluten. But in general, your immune system is not fantastic. So I've got concerns about that too. I think you start to look at the list of, sure, there's some that we all are aware of as higher risk indicators, but people are concerned about vaping, for example, with this, which I'm even a little bit surprised that might be something that's a higher risk indicator if you get COVID-19, but there are reports out there saying that, so we don't really know. Joseph writes, Buck, I just want to say a big thanks to you for your shout out to truckers and other service workers staying after it during the pandemic. It means a lot. Praying for you and producer Mark staying safe in the big city. Thank you for staying after it as well. I'm a relatively new regular listener, but I've always been aware of you for quite a few years now. I've been passing the buck to everyone I possibly can, especially since more people are more cooped up right now trying to find things to do. Aside from catching the show on my route, I've started downloading the podcast as well. Joseph, that's awesome. Thank you so much for, first of all, what you're doing and for making sure that there's, you and your brother and sister truckers, truck drivers across the country, you are the reason that we still have, milk and bread and meat and vegetables and things in the store. If you all decided to stop doing your jobs, we would be in a panic situation. Then things do get really Mad Max and really scary. And that's true of a whole bunch. It's true of medical providers now too. Doctors and nurses saying, look, I'm gonna go up to the cabin and, wait this out. Sorry. No, they're putting themselves at risk for the rest of us. And so it really is a heartfelt thank you. And it's a serious praise and respect that we have to give to the courage of those who continue on in these roles. I'm the first. I've done some things in my life professionally that required some degree of courage. Physical risks and things like that. Right now, I'm in that lucky cohort where I get to continue my job. I am in the highest risk place in the country, so there's that. But I get to continue my job at home largely. But really, the job is now entirely at home. Whereas for many of the rest of you, I know it means you have to still show up, go out there into the virus red zone, and keep on doing what you're doing. And I thank you for that, and it is meaningful to a lot of us, and we do appreciate it. Tracy, Buck, I'm especially enjoying hearing about Tallulah, and your video with her the other day was adorable. We had a cream-colored Frenchie until a few years ago named Winston. We recently accepted a nearly 2-year-old Frenchie into our lives. Hamilton has taken over in true Frenchie style. He is stubborn and always gets his way, but he makes up for it with lots of love. It takes a certain kind of person to appreciate how easy and difficult it is to have a Frenchie. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Tracy. I do appreciate that. And, this is my parents' dog, really. We think of it as a family dog, but Tallulah is a white French bulldog. She is absolutely adorable. She is a love bunny. She is the sweetest little animal you could ever imagine. But, man, is she stubborn and difficult in some ways. It's all with love, but, she will demand. She woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning last night because the door had gone pretty close to shut. She scratches at the door. And I have to open the door. It's 4 a.m. I was asleep. I scratch at the door. I open the door for her. And, I barely remember this, but I do remember it. I was in sort of a semi-sleep state. And then she's at the bottom of my bed, and she starts whining because even though she can physically jump up onto the bed, she would rather me gently elevate her. I'm like the human elevator for this canine. So I elevate her onto the foot of my bed where she promptly curls up into a ball and falls asleep. Now, she's adorable, so I'm okay with it. But, yeah, Frenchies, you're living in their world. It's a loving world, but it's their world. All right, more roll call here. Kim, hey, man, you are excellent in talk radio. Love the hair. Got it. Flaunt it. You're my primary weapon against the left. Your truth trumps their invasion of the body snatchers rhetoric every time. Love the banter with producer Mark. The German accent is stellar and hilarious. Shields high. You're a great American treasure. Well, thank you so much, Kim. It's almost like my mom is writing in under a pseudonym named Kim, or pseudonym of Kim. But no.
Mrs. Sexton. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it's
you
enough
settle
already.
down. You settle down. Some of the people appreciate the buck hair. Although I will say this, producer Mark, we do a video stream of this for Pluto TV, channel 248, the first. Got to plug it. But what do I do about the fact I can't get a haircut right now? I mean, this thing is going to get out of control.
Yeah.
What are your preferred or advised options for the Buckster here? Do I go man bun? What do I do?
I mean, you might have no choice. So I have a pair of clippers in my house, and my wife just cuts my hair for me because I just get a buzz cut. What do I need to pay some guy $25 to do that for me? But you're in a tricky situation.
Yeah. What do I do? I mean, if I take scissors to my own hair,
it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad news for everybody.
I mean,
Certainly
you're just going to have
me.
to stick it out. Maybe if you have to man bun, sure. Maybe get a little
Man
scrunchy.
bun? Do I go man? Oh my gosh!
Borrow
I
a
can't believe
scrunchie from your girlfriend.
Do we do man bun or do we do? Yeah, she's got scrunchies. Do we do man bun or do we do ponytail?
Oh,
Just saying.
do you know how to make a man bun?
Yeah, I know how to make a man bun.
All right.
It's easy. You just scrunch your hair up and you do a little wrappy thing in the middle of it. You wrap it up and then you look like
wrappy thing.
Yeah, whatever you call it, a rubber band kind of thing. And then you look like a samurai warrior or a hipster from Brooklyn that is trying too hard. Depends.
I mean, I think that'll look better on you than the ponytail.
Yeah, I think I'm more a man bun guy than ponytail guy, but we'll have to sort of see. But my problem is that the thickness of the swoop, the thickness is the issue more than the length. So this helmet is going to start becoming enormous. It's going to go from looking like a football helmet to like a Martian's helmet, which is giant. So
your apartment's going to be like 65% hair soon.
That's true. That's true. But we've all got our quarantine issues to tackle. So, all right, let's get to the next one here. Jim writes, "Hey Buck and Mark, just want to give you some news that I find scary and couldn't believe my ears when we were told it. Healthcare workers in my hospital system are to reuse their masks for 6 days. If we wear it into a room with a Wuhan virus patient, we still have to wear it for every other patient we treat. We usually wear it once and throw it away. Shields high." Well, Jim, that is troubling, and we got to get masks to people on the front line so that they can get fresh masks. I mean, we can't have people reusing masks. I'm stunned that we're able to create all the abundance we have in this country, and we can't make, what do these masks cost? 10 cents each. We can't churn out a few million of them all at once, or not all at once, but very, very rapidly. So yeah, I'm with you, my friend. I'm very concerned about that too. And anybody out there who has the capability of sending masks or making masks or anything like that to first responders, please do that.
And it's
Joe, what's up, Mark?
It's a major problem in New York. I have my sister-in-law is a nurse at NYU. She's having to wear a mask for days at a time. My wife is on the front lines of healthcare. She's not a clinical physician or anything, but she has to deal with patients. She has to wear one a day and even more, sometimes have to wear it longer. So it's a major problem.
Yeah, this is something that I feel like the American people should be able to come up with a way to make this work, fix this. I think that there are some challenges that we understand the complexity of them and that the nature of this situation. It's not possible to get it all exactly right as we want it to be. Obviously, we're facing a viral pandemic, and just the fact that that's the situation we're in means that there have been some things that we couldn't handle along the way. But face masks, I feel like this is one that we got to be able to figure out and to cover, pardon the expression, but figure out how to make this shortfall go away. And we don't have a lot of time. And I do thank all the different companies, individuals out there who are stepping up to do more. They will save lives in this process. That is going to happen for sure. So, team, I so appreciate every day that we get to talk, in some ways now more than ever, because it's an important time for the country, and to be able to reach all of you is very meaningful to me, behind, pandemic lines here in NYC in particular. So please take care of yourselves. Keep your loved ones close at hand and safe. We will get through this. We will get through this together. Shields high.